Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levi, and today we're going to talk about Dana White's Contender Series Week 9. And my friends, it's going down this Tuesday night live at the Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. Once again, we got 10 prospects trying to fight for a UFC contract. And for another week in a row, we got, oh, this guy has a kickboxing win over Poatan. I feel like we've seen that every single week. We got Cesar Almeida in the UFC last week. There was another kid on Contender Series. Now this week we got one too. Plus some other good prospects to look out for. So without further ado, let's get down to business. First up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between two Aussies. We got Sean Gauci. He's 9-1, taking on Anthony Drilich, who's 8-1. Currently, they got it. Sean Gauci minus 180. The comeback on Anthony Drilich is plus 150. So, I mean, this is a fight that literally could have been a main event in Hex, the promotion over there down under, or in one of the other Australian promotions. My boy Damian Beatdown Brown, he's got the Beatdown promotions. It could have been a main event there. Like, these are the two top flyweight prospects in Australia, and they're meeting on Contender Series for a UFC contract. Both these guys are UFC ready right now, as far as I'm concerned. When you talk about this kid, Anthony Drilich, so he fights out of the southpaw stance, and he's really defensively sound, and he's kind of evasive, elusive, doesn't take too many risks. He's very hard to track down, and he kind of frustrates his opponents. And you start to be like, man, not much is going on. Then you rush a guy like Anthony Drilich, and he's going to counter you. Not to mention, you get on top of him. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So there's a lot to like about this kid, Drilich. And on the other side, with Sean Gauci, similar things to say. There's a lot to like about him too, but he's got a completely different style than Drilich. I'd say he's a lot more aggressive. He goes forward more. And man, let me tell y'all something. He's got a win over current top 10 flyweight Steve Ursag. Y'all got to watch their fight, because I learned a lot about Sean Gauci in that fight, man. Like, I learned that, first of all, let's say this. He won the decision unanimously, but man, he had to overcome some serious chokes in that fight. I mean, Steve Ursag had him in a deep guillotine, in a deep rear naked choke. And this dude, Sean Gauci, he has no quit in him whatsoever. He fought the hands, he stayed composed, got out of those situations, and went on to win the fight, man. So there's a lot I like about him. The way these two match up, though, like I said, I think Gauci is the more aggressive guy, the one that's going to be going forward. And I think that Anthony Drilich is going to be kind of a bit more elusive, evasive, kind of trying to counter. So it's actually a really tough one to call, because Drilich, he doesn't really give you too many openings. He doesn't take too many risks. And as a martial arts lover, you love that. But as someone who's scouting someone that can potentially make it to the UFC, I'm not sure if Dana is going to love his style too much, because I think Dana wants more action and wants to see you be more aggressive. So Drilich is going to have to really step up the aggression in this fight. But that's not a problem with Sean Gauci, because Sean Gauci is going to make him fight. So, yeah, this is a tough one for me to call, but I'm actually going to lean with the favorite here with Sean Gauci. I think that he's just going to slightly do a little bit more than Anthony Drilich. Now, watch someone get finished or whatever the case may be. I don't really know if there's going to be a finish, but I just see Sean Gauci just slightly working harder than Anthony Drilich. But man, I think both these guys could absolutely be in the UFC right now. So let's see who takes it. So next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Islam Dulatov. He's 10-1, taking on Vanilto Antunes, who's 16-6. And currently, they got it. Islam Dulatov minus 550. The comeback on Vanilto Antunes is plus 400. And I got to be honest with you guys. I understand why the odds are where they are on this one. I'll let y'all guys know when I think the odds are too wide. I mean, you think about that fight between the ladies a few weeks back with that insane knockout. Like I said, those odds were too wide. Or you look at that heavyweight fight between what was the kid's name? Schoenfelder taking on that Russian kid, the kickboxer, and the kickboxer like got him, So I thought those odds were too wide. This one I don't think is too wide. I really think that Islam Dulatov is a good prospect that belongs in the UFC. The thing about him is, he's 10-1 as a pro, but he does have some boxing experience. And you see the name Islam Dulatov, you think, oh man, this guy is a Russian. He can wrestle his ass off. The flag on Tapology says Germany. I'm assuming that he migrated. I don't know. I don't know anything about this kid besides his fighting style, but he's got a Russian name with a German flag. But that being said, man, this kid is a stud. He is a serious athlete. I've seen him win fights, be a knockout, be a submission. Like I said, he's got a pro boxing background. He's beat UFC vets. He's literally done everything that you can do to get into Contender Series without there being like that question mark of, yeah, does this guy really belong? Has he paid his dues? No, this guy is ready right now. He's extremely athletic. He's a finisher too. He takes his time and he's been paying dues the way I want to see. You know, he's already taken that first setback and it was back all the way in 2019 and it was down at featherweight. Now, you know, he was like, you know what? I'm not trying to cut weight no more. Goes all the way up 2 weight classes to 170 and he's been killing it at 170. He's been finishing almost everybody he fights and he's doing so in spectacular fashion. And with his opponent, Vanilto Antunes, look, I respect this guy, right? Like, he's a 16-6 Brazilian, and he's got 14 knockouts on his record. So right away, you're like, yeah, like this is definitely someone to keep an eye out for. But man, when I watched the tape on him, look, I really respect the experience and the fact that this guy has been hanging around that Brazilian regional scene since 2014. 10 years later, you finally get this call. So I love seeing stuff like that. But this guy, I don't think he was originally on the radar because Islam Dulatov, he was supposed to fight um, that Meng Dang guy who fought Rami Hamed. Remember that Rami Hamed guy you know, Dana gave everyone a contract that day, but didn't give Rami Hamed one. Yeah, Rami Hamed took his spot against Meng Ding. But so I'm not sure Vanilto Antunes was even on the radar. But again, like I said, you're coming in here with a 16-6 record. I have to respect that. But I just don't see the athleticism I want to see of a future UFC fighter. I don't see that fast twitch. I mean, you don't have to be fast twitch, but I just don't see that speed and yeah, I think that he's gonna man, if he wins this fight, I think he's gonna get stopped in the UFC. But honestly, I think he's gonna get stopped on Tuesday night. And I'm going to Islam Dulatov to come out here and just take advantage of an opponent that's a lot slower than him, that doesn't have the same talent, the same athleticism, the same potential. And it's gonna look good on his resume because this kid Antunes, you know, he does have that 16-6 record. This would be a very good regional win for Islam Dulatov, but he's going to get it in Contender Series, and I think he's going to come out here, finish this fight, and Dana's going to be like, "Yo, Islam Dulatov, get your ass over here, kid. You're in the UFC." Now, next up in the heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Mario Pinto, he's 8-0, taking on Lucas Camacho, who's 6-0, and currently they got it. Mario Pinto minus 600. The comeback on Lucas Camacho is plus 425. So in this bout, we got Portugal versus Brazil. So, you know, there's a lot of bragging rights on the line with those two. And y'all saw the face off today. These guys would not stop staring at each other. Even when they got separated, they were staring at each other from across the room. So a lot of intensity. And I can't wait for this matchup. But when you see the odds and you wonder, well, why is it minus 600? I'll tell you why. Because this kid, Mario Pinto, he is an athletic heavyweight with a lot of talent, man. This guy got a lot of swag on the feet. He really feels himself out there. Nice hands, good takedown defense. He's been the 5-round distance before. There is a lot to like about this dude, Mario Pinto. On the other side with Lucas Camacho, not as pretty to watch, but you got to admire the heart on this kid Camacho. You know, you watched that last fight he had, or 2 fights ago, actually, against Guillermo Uriel, man. And I just didn't like the reactions from Camacho. It's like it's almost like flamboyant reactions anytime he gets hit with punches or with kicks. He doesn't check kicks, he doesn't block punches, but he's one of those guys that if he is still there and you're gassing out against a guy like Camacho, I mean, he'll go ahead and close the show, but there's just too many openings for me on Camacho. But I got to give him a lot of credit. Like I mentioned, that Uriel fight, dude, he was getting the you know what beat out of him. And like there was no quitting this guy, man. Like he kept getting back up and kept trying. And he comes from the Novo and Yao camp, which are responsible for the great Jose Aldo, amongst others. You know, we saw Ketlin Vieira on that card last week. So yeah, Jose Aldo, Ketlin Vieira, 2 great fighters on the card last week, who also train at this camp, and plus many, many, many others. Novo and Yao is a very legendary Brazilian camp. So, I mean, this dude's undefeated up until now, but I think that he's taking a huge step up in competition here against Mario Pinto. See, the thing with Pinto compared to the other guys that Camacho has fought is that Pinto's okay with just hitting you over and over and over. He doesn't need a rush to finish. He can just jab you over, throw in some leg kicks, some body shots, circle, stuff some takedowns, and just pick you apart until he's ready to pursue the finish. Like I mentioned, this dude Pinto's been 5 rounds before on his regional scene, and it was only one fight ago. So, I mean, I think that he's ready to swim, not just on Contender Series, but swim in the UFC. And I think Mario Pinto is going to come out here and knock out Lucas Camacho and get his UFC contract. Kid, we need heavyweights. You looked super impressive. Hey, Mario, get your ass over here, kid. You're in the UFC. Co-main event of the evening in the lightweight division, we got Cody Steele. He's 6-0, taking on Chasen Blair, who's 6-2. Currently, they got it. Cody Steele minus 240. The comeback on Chasen Blair is plus 190. So again, when you got 6-0 versus 6-2, you have to really examine where exactly these guys are at, because you don't want to rush these guys into the UFC when they're too green. Now, Cody Steele, he's got a lot of hype. I remember out of all the people on this episode of the Contender Series, besides Dulatov, I heard a lot about this Cody Steele kid. I heard his grappling is this, that he's this kind of prospect, that people have been hyping him up. Listen, I watched the tape and I liked what I saw, but I also think that he's kind of green. You know, I like the physique, the physicality. I like the aggression. He goes for it the entire time, knocked people out with hands, got that jiu-jitsu background I mentioned, and is always looking for the finish nonstop. So there's that to like about him. With his opponent, Chasen Blair, man. So this guy, I think, might just not be ready right now for this level of competition. Like, I like what he's done his last few fights. He's been going out there finishing the guys accordingly, including finishing 8-2 guys last fight. But you know, there's 8-2, and then there's 8-2, right? 8-2 on that regional scene compared to 8-2 here in the States. It's just completely different. And you go back less than a year ago to that fight he lost by knee bar, and man, let me just say this: as a grappler myself, as a Brazilian jiu-jitsu purple belt, when I watched his defense on that knee bar, I was cringing, man. Even the commentators were like, "Take your free leg and kick off the butt," like to escape. And like, this guy had no idea how to escape a basic knee bar. Now, I'm not questioning him. Maybe it was locked in so tight that us watching at home, you know, have no idea what we're talking about. But when I was watching that, I was like, damn, he could have for sure got out of that. And listen, he bounced back, finished his next 3 fights in the first round. Now he's got this opportunity. But man, if you get into those kind of spots with these kind of guys on the regional scene, I think Cody Steele can also put you in those kind of spots. And I'm just not seeing that physicality I want to see from Chasen Blair. I don't really see the potential. No offense. I mean, it really hurts my feelings to say stuff like that about someone who's got aspirations to be in the UFC. I'm sure if you heard this, you wouldn't appreciate that. But I'm not going to lie to y'all and act like I think this guy is some great prospect when I don't. And I think that Cody Steele, listen, he's got a lot of work to do. He's only 6-0. But I think he's got an opponent in front of him in Blair where he can go out there, mixing these takedowns, and even test his stand-up a little bit against this guy too. You want to throw hands? I think this is a fight where you can do it, but where it's really at is on the mat. I think he can come out here and get a submission. So I'm going Cody Steele to win the co-main event of the evening. Main event of the evening in the heavyweight division, we got Artem Vakhitov. He's 2-1, taking on Islem Masraf, who's 3-0. Currently, they got it Artem minus 550. The comeback on Islem is plus 400. So you're probably wondering, like, what's a 2-1 guy doing headlining Contender Series against a 3-0 guy? But the 2-1 guy, like I told you at the very beginning, he's another one of these guys that's fought Alex Poatan Pereira multiple times in kickboxing not that long ago in 2021. Lost the first one via split decision, won the next one via majority decision. So basically what that says is, on the feet, this guy is fighting competitively with Poatan more than once. And he transitioned to MMA, and, you know, he hasn't had that much experience, but when you watch the fights, you know, all 3 of them, he's 2-1. The first one, it says he lost via first-minute injury. What happened was the guy he was fighting against pulled him on top of him into full mount. Like, Buddy pulled Artem into full mount. And when Artem went to brace his fall, he kind of like, I think he hurt his elbow and injured himself and was like, oh shit, I fucked up my arm. Like, I can't continue, which kind of sucks because you would have hoped he would have used the other arm to pound the guy out and then complain about the injury, but nope. And then the next two fights, like they each one lasted under 2 minutes and the other one lasted under 30 seconds. But he's just coming out here. There's something about this guy's aura and persona that you can just tell he can land some serious damage. There's something about this dude. He's got nasty spins. He'll spin over and over and over, big kicks, punches. The takedown defense, I know the competition hasn't been that great, but from what I've seen, the basics of takedown defense are there. And then on the other side, with this kid, Islem, Masraf, dude, we've seen him fight before. He's the guy that fought in PFL against that big black dude who just walked out with his hands down, just walking forward, like not doing anything. And then this dude, Islem Masraf, just head kicked him and knocked him out. Y'all remember that when that happened in PFL not too long ago? And then he goes back and in PFL and has another finish too. So like this dude, like I think he might have a kickboxing background too. I can't find any info on it, but from what I've seen, he likes to stand and bang too. So it's tough because neither guy has much MMA experience and you're expected to lay a big price on this. But from what I can gather, both are kickboxers. Give me the kickboxer with better credentials, the one that actually has a win and a close loss against Alex Poatan Pereira. I'm going to go with Artem Vakhitov to come out here and win the Contender Series main event. But you cannot count out Islem because kickboxing and MMA are two completely different sports. And we just don't know enough about either guy inside the cage. We know about Artem outside, and with Islem, he's still making a name for himself. So it's a really tough one to call with all the info we have or lack thereof. But that being said, I'm gonna pick Artem to come out here and win in the main event. And we'll see if Dana gives him a contract or not. So my friends, now we got to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. So what is the fight to watch for Dana White's Contender Series Week 9? My friends, in my opinion, it's the first fight of the night between the two Aussies in the flyweight division. Sean Gauci taking on Anthony Drilich. I mean, I already told you, Sean Gauci already's got to win over Steve Erceg. Anthony Drilich is no slouch at all. Both these guys belong in the UFC. And I have a feeling they're going to fight tooth and nail until one of them does get that contract. So for that reason, Gauci versus Drilich is my fight to watch. Who is my fighter to watch? That's a very good question. I think my fighter to watch is Islam Dulatov. Out of the bunch, he seems like he's probably the most talented, has the biggest ceiling. I know, it's not fun to pick a -5 something favorite as your fighter to watch, but I think he might be the most talented out of the bunch. So I'm going to go Islam Dulatov as my fighter to watch. Well, my friends, we did it. It's going down this Tuesday night live at the Apex. Thank you all so much for your support. Please smash the like button. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Leave me a comment if you feel so inclined to share. I truly appreciate that as well. I will be back tomorrow to break down the UFC card, which is going down in Vegas as well. Tyra versus Roy Vol. Lots of great fights to talk about. So thanks again. Y'all can follow me on Twitter at Best Fight Picks, at Half the Battle HQ on Twitter. And then y'all can follow me on Instagram at Half the Battle Pod. And how y'all like that fight news I broke? Cody Durden versus Joshua Van at UFC 310 in Vegas. So until the next time, let's cash these bets.